I just say that making a new video in the high maintenance energy series is making me so happy right now. But since, as I just said, this is part of a series, it's not the first one, I'm not going to get super into depth. Well, I'm going to try not to get super into depth about why it is called the high maintenance energy series, why I have chosen high maintenance as a positive thing, and why I see it as an opportunity to live your most delicious, glowy, prosperous, and positive life. I'm not going to give the whole rundown again about why high maintenance, in my opinion, should not be considered an insult and why we should look at it as goals. The behaviors and most of the behaviors and attitudes and mind shifts that warrant a woman being called high maintenance, that's the stuff we want to run towards. You can watch more videos about my mindset around this and more in-depth kind of topics surrounding this in the playlist that I have listed and made for you down below. Today's video will be about the low maintenance women. And I do make videos about low maintenance women from time to time. Please watch those as well. But I do want to make something really clear about low maintenance women, and it is that they are not our enemies at all. I don't have any ill will towards them whatsoever. And despite what you may think, I'm not necessarily talking about what you look like physically. I don't think that has anything to do with this. I'm talking more about how you move through the world when I refer to whether you are a high or a low maintenance woman. But anyway, the low maintenance woman is not our enemy. Quite the contrary. She is probably actually a high maintenance woman, kind of like deep down, who is actually deeply confused and frustrated. She's probably confused at why things in her life keep going a certain way, even though she does and says what she thinks everyone wants her to do and say, and scared to do anything different because we all know, again, that to be firm in your position and to kind of have a really strong sense of self or be focused on yourself is villainized, and it has been since time immemorial. Goddess forbid we feel good about ourselves, our relationships, we're on our purpose. It's just easier to call people like us mean girls or selfish or uppity or bougie or high maintenance. And some people would rather be unhappy in their actual lives than ever be called that. Again, that's why we're taking it back. So today we're going to throw out some common mindsets or rules, more specifically, that the low maintenance woman lives by. Yeah, I just wanted to give, I know you guys are sick of the disclaimers, okay? Everyone is sick of people who start YouTube videos with disclaimers, but the truth of the matter is there are tons of things that should just go without saying, right? Should just go without saying, but if I don't say it, then it's just like comment wars, and I just ain't nobody got time for that. So while we do have time, while I'm here, I got time for this. All relationships, business, personal, family, friends, romantic, work, just going to the grocery store, requires that the people who are participating in this relationship, whatever it may be, it will require some level of compromise, sacrifice, dedication, and work. Anything less than that is basically a dictatorship. Like, everyone's got to be willing to wiggle around each other a little bit. That's clear. That's obvious, right? I am not advocating for abandoning these principles. Do not do that. You're hearing me say it right now. But here's the kicker. You give these things to people who are giving them to you. All that said, the first rule that low maintenance women live by is everything is negotiable. Some things are, sure, but not everything. And this and many other principles low maintenance women live by tend to be kind of worn as a badge of honor in a way. So it's super important for these type of women to be or appear very, very easygoing. They're always trying to avoid rocking the boat in any way. They don't want to cause any inconvenience for anyone ever. Those people in and of themselves are just kind of exhausting to me. I'm just saying. But they tend to truly look at the world as if, for one reason or the other, it is just easier for them to adjust their preferences than for anyone else to ever have to do it. And again, in all relationships, there is give and take here, but these type of people really, again, everything is negotiable, so their preferences what they want to do, what they think, how they feel, just genuinely don't matter, because it changes depending on the situation they find themselves in. They're going to do whatever they have to do to make everyone else more comfortable. Low maintenance women tend to look at it, well, they tend to look at life like, well, I just want to get along, and I'm sure eventually my sister or boss or husband or best friend or whatever will repay me for all that I have sacrificed. And if you or anyone you know has a way of looking at things like this, you got a really big problem on your hands. The idea itself is set up to fail. It's not just a nice person if you expect something in return, I guess is the quickest way of saying that. Remember what I said at the top of the video, that living this way too long is how people end up resentful? This is what I mean. High maintenance women are generous and accommodating and giving because they're good, man. When you like yourself and you feel comfortable with yourself and you feel restful in most areas of your life, most of the time, it's not really a fuss to make exceptions for people or negotiate some things for other people. Now, with the exception of your boundaries, okay, again, there are caveats to all things. We're not letting anyone cross our boundaries, of course. And we certainly aren't doing these nice things like fully expecting anything in return. Now, while in a healthy relationship, it's kind of, again, an unspoken rule that like, I scratch your back, you scratch mine. But what we're talking about here is different, because these are the kind of people who will continue to let other people walk all over them because, again, they think it's going to make the other person love them, respect them, care about them, owe them something, whatever. Again, it's essentially manipulation, but we as high maintenance women do nice things for people because we're just abundant of niceness, because we're good. Like I'm telling you, like if you're enjoying yourself, you have nothing but plenty to give, and we're not holding it over people's heads or expecting anything in return later. It's not a bargaining chip for us. It's just the way we are. Low maintenance women tend to have people or situations in their lives that they kind of have to like explain to others. You'll notice that's a pattern with them as well. The explanation can usually be centered around something like, oh, well, I just do A, B, and C because, this person in my life, they are super sensitive and this is just easier. Again, easier. That's a big thing with low maintenance women. It's always going to be what's easier. And it's not that, you can't be in relationships with people who are sensitive and who have needs that you love them enough to accommodate. Again, that's not the point of this. But if the relationship or situation is totally dependent outside of your child, totally dependent on your willingness to go with the flow, keep your mouth shut, take on the majority of the work, whatever, then that's something very different entirely. It should not be all on you. Those are the worst kinds of relationships, and low maintenance women kind of tend to love them because one of the next rules that they live by is you tell me who I am. I did a video on haters a little while ago, which I think should be like required reading in the high maintenance energy series universe or whatever I'm creating here, because it really does help you understand what motivates a certain type of person to do a certain type of thing. The you tell me who I am thing is kind of tied up in that. This rule is something a low maintenance woman she wouldn't overtly say this, you know what I mean? It's not something that you would necessarily know by the way that she speaks. It's something you're going to know by the way that she acts. This mindset is made manifest in several different ways, but I'm going to talk about it in this specific way because I have met, and I'm sure you guys have as well, some truly unhealthy people who did and said these kinds of things. And at the time, like most of the things on this list, it sounded like something almost reasonable, almost admirable, but upon closer inspection, it's actually the exact opposite of those things and really unhealthy. Low maintenance women are defined by their relationships with other people, not only in the literal sense. And when I say the literal sense, I mean the titles that come with certain things, like certain job positions, certain addresses, certain relationships, girlfriend, wife. These titles really solidify for them who they are. And if they don't have those things, they genuinely feel like they are nothing, and they will do and tolerate anything in this world if it means they can hold on to this title or, this definition that they are dependent on. And they will do whatever they have to do. They will put up with whatever they have to put up with, no matter how frustrating or pointless or truly unhappy it actually makes them, so long as they can keep the title. And that's kind of normal on one hand, because if you put a lot of effort and energy into anything, you should take it very seriously. But your relationships, your positions, and they're still not who you are. That's something else that some really unhealthy people like this will say. They'll say that their job is who they are. Or they'll say that, the reason they want this person in their life is because with them, they will never have to be alone again, or they give them meaning, or they're their everything. It truly is basically a whole attitude around like, these external things around me define me, and I need them more than I need to even like myself. So when people are in relationships that they consider defining relationships, you'll hear a lot of words like ride or die, day one, something along those lines coming out. I am no one's ride or die except for my kid. I just want to be clear about that. I don't even know why that, no part of that. None of that. But again, like I said at the top, these unhealthy mindsets or rules or whatever, they're truly worn like a badge of honor. People who get defined by relationships tend to also live in a fantasy world. And the fantasy world is that, again, they can continue to pour into something, whether it's a boss or a person or an apartment or whatever. They are essentially kind of a slave to this thing, because they truly believe that they have all the responsibility and all the control in the world to make this thing be better, and that eventually it will be better. This can look like anything. I've seen lots of women in relationships with men who are dragging them through the mud, ruining their lives, and they keep showing up every day and saying, yes, sir, may I please have another one, because they think that they're going to change this person. This person will eventually get better. That's a fantasy world. That does not happen. Especially because 9 times out of 10 in these situations, if you are in a relationship with someone who, again, is depending on you or relying or counting on you being the one to bend and fold with their will, they're the type of people who are promising you all the time that one day things will be better, in the future things will be better. But you're probably already in the future that you've been promised a million times by now, and I'm willing to bet anything it's not what you had in mind. So that is just something to chew on if you or someone you know are in situations like this. But the next rule, because of this rule is so deeply ingrained in them as people, the next rule makes perfect sense. And that rule is, your problems are my problems. Think about it this way. If you've lost your entire identity, sense of self, purpose, whatever, to another thing. I'm going to keep saying bosses and jobs and houses and addresses, but I mean this mostly with interpersonal relationships, because I think relationships truly show who we are as people. But let's say you've lost yourself completely into this relationship with another person. You just start to put all of yourself into it. And again, sounds admirable, doesn't it? Sounds like something any good person would do for their relationship or their loved one. It's something we're kind of sold that is a good thing to do. But once you have completely identified like yourself with something else, you will stop putting any attention or focus or energy into yourself. You're going to put all of it onto this other thing. This should be true for you. This kind of you swing, I swing thing should be true for such a small amount of people in your life who, let me tell you, and only if they have shown you, not told you, shown you that they are willing to invest just as much of that energy, care, resources, whatever, into you as well. If the opportunity has been presented, of course. Not always the case, but if they've had a chance to show up for you and they haven't, you better stop doing it for them, because these kinds of relationships, these kinds of people, these kinds of dynamics are very frustrating, because what happens is you might find yourself in a situation where you care infinitely more about this person's problem than even they do. I've been in situations like that in my life. I know you guys have as well. It's very frustrating. It's the root of codependency in a lot of ways because you care so much, they just don't even feel the need to anymore. They basically just kind of get to go through life and making a lot of messes. They're just messy people in every way. And then you, the low maintenance woman, get to have the job of cleaning up these messes. It works out great for them. You're the one running behind them, making excuses for them, explaining them away, like whatever the case may be. And that works out great for the mess maker. But the cleaner, like the mess cleaner, is actually working out great for them as well because they get to be the hero here or the martyr, or at the very least completely abandon caring about their own problems at all. So another disadvantage to being in these types of your problems or my problems relationships is that low maintenance women are too busy fixing their man's problem for the 400th time, the same problem he's been having for 10 years. Too busy doing that. Too busy, focusing on the misdirection that your man is playing with you to try to show why none of this is actually his fault. That thing. It's like create a common enemy so that you never have to actually look up and see who the hell I am. That's what these people are doing. It's misdirection. You can't see the max size truck red flags right in front of you about your partner because you're too busy constantly putting out the fires in his life, constantly trying to protect them from all the evil people in their lives. Your relationship should not be taking up this much time or energy in your life. It's not a good idea. It's so low maintenance vibes, so low maintenance energy. Don't do it. So at this point, we're going to get to the nitty gritty because I've kind of been alluding to it, but I'm going to try to drive it home a little more. The low maintenance women in these situations, these kind of people do this either because they are trying to control others, and that's a big thing. If you are the type of person who has some sort of core wound that says, nobody loves me, everyone leaves me, I'm never going to be enough for anyone, you may have found that your way of getting your needs met with people or getting people to stay is to play this kind of role, to kind of let me be like the martyr, let me make them feel indebted to me in some way, let me constantly allow them to look at the bad guy because, well, why would you do that to Whitney? She's such a nice girl. Like, they have kind of found a way to subtly manipulate things or use passive aggression more than, it's just easier, again, with that easier thing, it's easier to them to get what they want that way, either because the type of people they are attracting to need them to be that way, or because they think to do anything else is a bad thing. Like I said, so many of these like virtues or whatever you want to call it that they live by, or the phrases they say are truly supposed to be like positive. It's supposed to sound good on the surface, and it does until you actually look at the relationships and situations that they find themselves in. So that's the first kind of thing that will happen, or the first type of person that's doing this. It's someone who doesn't know how to get their needs met any other way, and they're terrified of doing anything different. It's a bad plan. I don't know anyone who lives that way happily, but okay. The other reason is that they have some misguided sense of duty towards other people. Like maybe they were brought up to believe, and we've talked about this before, that their role in life is to look out for other people and not to is selfish. So it's a duty, it's the sense of reward, it's this sense of being a doormat makes me better than other people. There's a lot of stuff tied up in the reward that the low maintenance woman gets out of this, because nobody does anything for no reason. They don't do it if it's not working. It's scratching some itch, it's meeting some need they have. What that is going to be person to person. The point of this video is to help you figure out if you're living by any of these principles. And the last rule that low maintenance women live by is it's this or nothing. If the other rules were a 3-course dinner, this is the table upon which they sit. Because this mindset, this rule is the foundation of why they tend to act out their relationships the way that they do, why they do it the way that they do it, why it's so important to them. And it's because of fear. They are afraid of something. Usually it's of being alone. Like I said, it could be one of those core wounds we just got into, But since, being afraid of being alone is not necessarily toxic or unhealthy or points to a bigger issue, it's common. The problem isn't afraid of being alone, it's afraid of being alone with themselves because they don't like themselves very much. And it's not because they're not likable. That's the tragedy of the situation. They have just spent so much time and energy wrapped up in other stuff, wrapped up in other people's problems, and never figuring out who they are, what they want, because they are so busy accommodating other people. So the work that this person needs to do, the high maintenance work, it's why I like to call it that, because it is work, it is energy, and it's something you have to maintain to avoid being this type of person in these type of situations, which might not sound that serious, but these are kind of the building blocks of super toxic, life-ruining situations people find themselves in. These like rules I'm telling you about. But they're not doing any of this intentional, focused work on themselves. It is literally the best thing you will ever do with your time. I can promise you that. But since they haven't done it, they don't know themselves. They probably don't like themselves. So they don't want to be alone with themselves. They are defined by that which they can never guarantee control over. All of this causes them to look at situations a high maintenance woman would look at and be like, no, Miss Ma'am, no. They look at the same situation and will say, not only is this for me, but this is the hill I am willing to die on. It's this or nothing. This is the antithesis of the high maintenance mindset. It's not that a high maintenance woman won't give it all she's got. In fact, she's already given it all she's got. She's already putting so much energy into herself and to bettering herself and improving herself that she's just kind of wired that way now. So when she's in a relationship with someone, she's going to go at it with everything she has, but she's done that deep work. She has healed her inner wounds. She's getting her life organized. She's accomplishing goals. She's holding space only for those who are good for her and good to her. She has that groundwork laid to be a good partner, mom, friend, employee, boss, whatever. She's solid. So she's got the energy to pour into other stuff. But not if it's going nowhere. Not if it's accomplishing nothing. Not if she's unhappy. Not if it means enabling another person's unhappiness, because ultimately these codependent toxic relationships, that's what you're doing. If you have someone in your life who is constantly making bad choices over and 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 over again, and you just keep signing up for it, you are enabling them. You're hurting them. No matter how much, again, like you want to paint it that you'll just do anything for those you love, you are hurting your loved one by doing this. Being low maintenance is not a badge of honor. I don't care. I don't care what anyone says. It's fear and low standards masquerading as humility and some kind of moral code. Baby, it's almost never this or nothing in the first place. The only time it is when you have given, you have poured all of you into it. Your time, your money, your health, your looks, your energy, your personal life, whatever. It's all been given to something or someone else. That definitely can put you in a position where it is all or nothing, and that's why you don't want to do that. And I would humbly ask that if you are doing this for another person or thing outside of your child, and even if it is your child, mom's got to take care of themselves too. So don't do that badge of honor thing either. I highly encourage you guys, if you're putting all your time, energy, money, resources, youth, whatever, into something that is not you, that you refocus some of that energy back towards yourself, because there's no downside to it. Every single video that I make in this series is basically just trying to talk y'all into changing the way you look at stuff, to questioning maybe the systems you grew up in and the way that relationships have been modeled for you, especially if they are consistently not making you happy. Join us, won't you? That's it for me, you guys. As always, thank you to the patrons. I really hope you enjoyed the video. Lots of cool stuff coming. I'm going to be experimenting with vlogs and kind of routine videos and things like that. I do still have some home videos I want to put out. I have some planning videos I'm getting ready to make. There's a lot of stuff that I'm looking forward to doing. If it can't all roll out perfectly the way I want to by the end of this year, then the beginning of 2020 is when it's going to start. I'm trying to have some grace with myself, but I'm also got some big dreams. So anyway, I hope you guys are having an amazing day, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.